The garden is starting to come to life, and today I'm giving it a different kind of attention. Welcome to PDX Garden Home. Here in Portland, Oregon, I'm working in the beds, planting flowers like echinacea, columbine, and lupin, beginning to shape the look and feel of the garden for the season. At the potting bench, I'll be moving painted daisies into larger pots, giving them the room they need before heading out. It's a day of building beauty, one plant at a time. So come along with me and let's garden. Today, I am going to be planting some of the loveliness flower. I think it's in the dianthus family, and this is something that should be a perennial, but in this strip here, it didn't carry over from last year. It didn't overwinter. However, I do have some down there that I'll show you that did overwinter. So here is the loveliness from last year. As you can see, it's doing good. It's getting ready to bloom. These ends here where it'll bloom. So I had that planted all the way down there, all the way across here, and then all the way back up to there where I was planting the new ones earlier, and it just didn't all survive. But these will look good, and then the new ones will look good too a little bit later. Yeah, I'm just going to replant it as a border plant. I love the smell of these. The look is beautiful, the smell is great. So I'm going to sneak them in here now. I do have a couple things already growing on the border there, so I'm just going to kind of sneak them in between here. Two in here. That's three. Okay, time to fertilize. I've got a space back here that I'm going to put some flowers in back there. And, you know, my approach to figuring out what I'm going to put there reminds me of kind of a philosophical choice that I try to make, because I think that when you raise lots of seedlings, like many of you do and that I do, you get attached to them. And if you go one direction with kind of how you approach the garden is you have all these seedlings, and then you're constantly trying to figure out, well, where can I stick this one? Where can I stick that one? And so the whole game for the whole season becomes, how do you basically save all these seedlings by finding a place for them? I
try to refocus my thinking on a different approach, which is thinking about the garden as the canvas and the seedlings as just a resource. And it's hard to do, and I slip out of that. But when I think about the seedlings as just a resource, what that literally means is, well, they can go in the garbage or compost, or they can be given away. They're not the goal. The canvas and how I decorate the canvas is the goal. And so when I look at something like this, I'm looking at areas of the garden. I'm saying, okay, what can go here? And then what's fun about having lots and lots of seedlings, you say, well, if you're going to take that attitude, Ty, why even grow lots of seedlings? Well, I grow the seedlings so I have the palette, right? And so I've got this palette available to me, and I think about, okay, here's this area. It's my canvas. How am I going to decorate it? Well, what's actually available in my palette? Well, today, in terms of putting some flowers in the background, and I'm going to put them back there because it's farther than I want to reach to harvest. So it could work perfectly for having some flowers hanging out back there. And the stuff that I have available, I have some echinacea, I have some Shasta daisies, I have some columbine, I have some lupin. So I've got those lined up over here, and I'm going to see if I can kind of put them in over here. And then I'm going to think about what kind of additional veggies might I want to then plant over here as well. I've already got some veggies that I planted at the front end over here, so I'll just kind of keep it going a little bit this way after I get those flowers in. But the main thing that I wanted to share was this kind of perspective of, it's not about trying to find a place for every last seedling. It's about figuring out what I want my canvas to look like, and using my seedlings as a resource and as the palette, as I call it, that I can pull from. Now, in the end, most of us probably do a little bit of both of that, right? And so I might do that, and then I still feel guilty if I have extra seedlings and thinking about, well, what canvas didn't I fully decorate? Where can I shove this in, kind of thing. But I'll try to guard against that, because I think that creates more stress for me in the garden than is necessary. And at the end, I produce lots of seedlings, so I have a wonderful and varied palette to choose from, not so that I can stress myself out about where all these plants might eventually go. Okay, this one is the echinacea. It was planted from seed last season and then grown throughout the season and overwintered, and now I'm going to put it out here. I'm going to try to stick it in that corner back there. So I need to make my hole first. Just pulling some weeds while I'm back here, because I'm not going to reach back there that often. Okay. I'm getting some roots. I suspect that the blackberry here, thornless blackberry, is rooting through the pot and down into the surrounding soil, which is nice for making that plant strong and potentially producing some good blackberries. But I'm gonna put some fertilizer in that hole. See how it comes out. It's definitely going to be a lot happier out here. Now, what I found with echinacea that I planted is that it kind of does clump up and expand, propagate itself, clumping up a little bit. Yeah. Okay, my next one in here is a columbine. This is a little guy. This was also planted from seed last year, but because I have it in this small container, I should have transplanted it a lot earlier. It's still pretty small. It could be bigger by now if I had gotten it out earlier. And I'm intentionally not planting the echinacea and the Shasta daisy next to each other, because those tend to grow bigger. Columbine can grow fairly big too, but it's kind of, I don't know what the word is for it, but kind of spindly is what I experience with columbines, maybe. So it's not going to get in the way as much.
drop the Shasta daisy over here, making the most use of space that I got here in the garden that I can. Like, probably wondering, why doesn't he use a hand trowel to do this? I'm lazy, I don't want to go get one. I don't carry a hand trowel on my garden apron, but I carry my hori knife with me everywhere, so I usually just use that to kind of loosen up the soil a bit so I can get in there, and then just use my hand to kind of pull the soil out of the way. If I was planning to do a whole row of these, like a dozen or so, then I would use a hand trowel, or even better, I would not even lean over. I'd use a little shovel with a small head on it. Okay, here's the Shasta daisy. Pull that out. See, those roots are bound, and this thing's screaming to get into something bigger. Okay, we're gonna unleash you on this bed. Try to be strategic with my foot placement so I'm not stepping on plants that There's that. And I've ended up putting a broccoli here. So I want to find a place for my lupin. Straight back here with my lupin. And my lupin's actually in a small plug, so I'm just gonna make an indentation there. Drop the last bit of fertilizer I have in this cup in there, and then let it be. There's the lupin. There might be actually two in there, but I'm gonna leave them together like that and throw it in. And then these definitely all need some watering. It's going to be a very warm day today. Definitely lots of sun. Okay. Recap, I did an echinacea, columbine by my hori knife there, Shasta daisy, and now a lupin. Okay, well, I've been putting this off just because I always had other things to do, but it's well past due. I've got these painted daisies, which should be a perennial. I planted them from seed last year and grew them through the season and then overwintered them. This is another one that would be bigger if I had potted them up at the right time, but they're still alive. They've survived my neglect, so I'm going to go ahead and pot them up now into these 4-inch pots, and then as they grow, we'll pot them up again, assuming I don't neglect them again. This is going to live outside, so I'm just using a potting soil that will be outside. So I'm not using a seedling mix that I use in the garage. I'm just using potting soil, which I have some stored in some barrels for now. I'm probably going to need more with the amount of potting up that I've got to do, but that's what I'm working on here. Well, it's a combination of what I was just describing, the potting soil, and then also this is my refuse, my old potting mix when I kind of take seedlings out of things, or I have something that doesn't work and I just dump the potting soil. I dump it into a bucket so I can reuse it, and I usually will just mix it with I'll mix it with other kinds of soil or fertilization or whatever to revitalize it, so to speak, but that'll give me some texture on there. So, and that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to throw some potting soil into that bucket to give it some more stuff, some more oomph. I'll be putting fertilizer in it anyway, so it's not critical that I ensure that it has a lot of fertility just in its inherent nature, so to speak. I don't really trust the inherent nature of soil in general, even compost. I think about compost as being for texture and kind of your base layer, but I still use fertilizer even though I use compost. Okay, I'm going to switch here so that I'm got this
out of my way. I'll move this over here for now because I need to fill these up. And this is relatively dry. It's not bone dry, but it's relatively dry. So once I fill these up, I might water it before I even pot up the painted daisies. I've never really grown painted daisies full on before. I think I've tried seeding and kind of run into the same problem before where I didn't take care of them and lost them in the past. So I've grown some of the things that you may have seen me plant out in the garden. I've grown echinaceas and Shasta daisies to beautiful fruition. You know, they've gotten big and then they've naturalized in their area in my larger garden, and then they've multiplied on their own and that kind of thing. But I've never done that with painted daisies, so it'd be cool to see what I can do with this one, if I can achieve a similar result. I think just using my hands will be easier for this, but I want to glove up for that. Just not feeling like getting that much dirt in my fingernails today. Depends on my mood. I mean, gardeners, I'm not obviously like precious about dirt in my fingernails, but some days I'm like all for it, and some days I'm like, nah, I don't feel like having that kind of mess on my hands right now. Whoa, a couple of worms in there. Woo, lost that guy. Let me put you back right there. Put you back right in there. There you go. Wonder if they'll do okay in a small pot like that versus the big pot they've been living in. Bigger pot. It's not like this 3-gallon pot I have is huge, but obviously bigger than a 4-inch. Okay, there was something in there that was not a worm, and or looked like it might not be a worm, and so I was like, not sure about that, but okay. All right. Undecorated tub here. Okay, there we go. I'm gonna throw some water on that real quick. I'm not trying to saturate it here, I'm just trying to get the soil moist. I'll water again once they're planted in. I forgot I was going to put the fertilizer on first, but okay, that's fine. I feel like this one got too much. And this one got too much here. There we go. Okay. The one that's actually flowering, to give it the best chance it can at survival there. And there's actually several in here, I think. Not sure whether it's a good idea to split these or not, but certainly I'm used to doing that with veggies. If this was a broccoli, I would do that all day long without even asking, but I don't know about these. If it was a tomato, I would for sure do it. Those tomatoes are so rigorous. They're so vigorous. It's like feel like I can abuse them quite a bit in the transplanting process, and it doesn't seem to be a problem at all. Just from this 1/6 pack, which actually is more like a 18 pack because there's like 3 in every cell. You know, given that I have so many, I am, well, just gonna thin them. That way I can keep the roots in quite a bit intact. not gonna try to save tons of them or anything because I won't have room in my garden for that many anyway. With these flowers planted and the daisies potted up, the garden feels like it's moving in the right direction, at least for today. Thanks for gardening with me, and I'll see you in the next video.